Welcome to Anti-Woke and Autistic. What really troubles me is there actually are autistics out there who have fallen prey to the fat acceptance cult movement. They're out there. Now, one of the superpowers of autism is an exceptionally high resistance to peer pressure. That's definitely in the literature. Many autistic people will tell you that. However, autistic people, at the end of the day, pardon the cliche, are also human, and therefore they aren't 100% immune to allowing themselves to be swept away by a cult, the cult known as fat liberation, fat acceptance, fat activism. And sorry to say, there are autistic influencer wannabes on TikTok who are fat influencers, wannabe fat influencers. And there are also, I'm sure, some fat positivity, fat activist, autistic women on TikTok who have quite a big following, quite a large following. Now, for instance, we have here gemstone.system, Jemmy. She's autistic. As you can see, she's got a description here of herself, autistic. Of course, she also has ADHD and a few other things going on. Says fat polyam. I don't know what fat polyam commie is, but her profile here clearly depicts fat activism or fat acceptance. Now I'm going to show you a video that she's come up with that confirms all that. Look at this.
This comment reads, overeating most of the time is not the issue. The issue is usually the food is calorie dense, like White Castle burgers. They are small, but calorie dense. This is another fat-phobic myth and misconception about weight. This person assumes that because I am fat, I must eat a calorie-dense diet. That's simply not the case. I eat no differently than my roommates do, who have varying sizes. And I, in fact, eat definitely way less calories than a close friend of mine who is much thinner but does not exercise. A lot of weight has to do with your...
I gotta stop this. She says she eats the same amount of food as her thinner roommate, thinner friend. That means nothing. That means nothing. She's cherry picking. I first want to point out that I do like her spectrumy glasses here. And she has a rainbow or spectrum. Ever since I was diagnosed autistic, I like anything that shows a spectrum of colors, as an autism spectrum. So she has here a fidget, which is very popular among autistics. It's those little poppers, and even non-autistics might find those calming and soothing during intensely stressful situations, such as flying if they're really afraid to fly. I myself don't use fidgets that are external to my body. I use my body itself for stimming, but many autistics do use these poppers. But anyways, it doesn't matter if a thin person eats the same amount of food as a fat person. That absolutely means nothing. That says more about the physiology or the lifestyle of the thin person than it does the fat person. When I was a personal trainer, every fat person, every fat client of mine underestimated how much they were eating, because once they began tracking their food in the food diary, they realized that they're actually eating a whole lot more than they thought they were. Furthermore, if a fat person or somebody as fat as this person here isn't eating as much as you think she would, well, there is the possibility that her metabolism is all screwed up because she's fat. It screws up metabolism when you're sedentary and fat. Let's continue here.
As well as your history of dieting and weight cycling, your history with medications.
Actually, genetics is more relevant when it's a thin person who eats a lot. That's when it's more relevant. If you look at fat people, if you look at if genetics were the primary driver of obesity, then obesity would be equally prevalent in all countries, save for areas where there's extreme famine. It really troubles me that autistic people are getting sucked up in this vortex of fat acceptance. That really bothers me. I thought autistic people might be above that, but I guess there's always exceptions to the rule. She continues,
your disabilities. There's so much that goes into weight that has nothing to do with what you're eating and the way that you're exercising.
is she inferring that the average fat person or most fat people are on medications or have a disability or some other issue that causes their obesity? That's an insult to obese people. That is. Is she assuming that in general obese people have all these problems that cause obesity? Living in America, isn't that alone a logical explanation for all the obesity in the United States? We live in a country where it's extremely easy to be fat. Extremely easy. And yes, some people have a genetic propensity towards thinness. Some people have an endomorphic build where they're round and softer. They gain muscle easily if they strength train, but they tend to have slower metabolisms, but not to the point where they're going to be fat even if they hardly eat. In fact, any fat acceptance person who really believes that they can't lose weight no matter how little they eat, they're essentially saying that they're immune to starving to death and that if they were trapped or stranded in the wilderness, they never starve to death. They could live a whole month without food. That's ridiculous.
These things can affect it, but they quite simply are not the largest effect. But again, how's it any of your fucking business?
Well, when you put yourself out there on the internet and you have an open comment section, you're inviting the whole world to make comments. It's an open forum. And if you don't like it, get off the internet or make your account private. It's not a matter of making it our business, but if you're putting yourself on display and you got a comment section, it's a constitutional right to make comments. It's got nothing to do with whether it's somebody's business or not. It's social media. That's the way social media and the internet work. Furthermore, fat acceptance women invite unkind comments by their attitude. They flaunt themselves in bikinis or very skimpy clothes where they're showing everything. They get right into the camera, they get their bellies right into the camera. Very tasteless, lewd videos that show absolutely no creative thinking, no creativity, no genius, no cleverness, no innovative thinking, nothing, just simple, rudimentary brain activity as they do these ridiculous, uncouth videos of themselves flaunting all their body parts. Of course, it's going to invite a lot of unkind comments. If you don't want people posting nasty comments on your account, then stop posting videos that make you look like a foolish bonehead. Now here's another one. First of all, I'll show you her profile. She calls herself Fat Posit Queer, as you can see. And here it is right here. The hashtag ADHD. So that means a diagnosis of both autism and ADHD. The ADHD has nothing to do with any of this. This is strictly, I'm focusing on the autism here, the sad, pathetic fact that more and more autistic people, whether they're officially diagnosed or self-diagnosed, are getting mixed up in the insanity of fat acceptance. Down here she says, actually autistic and autistic. As usual, there's this agender thing going on. I'm going to show you her video here. Look, when you post a video like this, acting like a moron, you're going to get a lot of hater feedback. When you post something as foolish and primitive as this, I don't care if she's a fellow autistic. She's an idiot making a fool of herself. She makes autistic people look really bad. I mean, we're logical thinkers. We have a high resistance to peer pressure and getting swept away by gimmicks and the latest fad. And here we have these autistic women doing these things on the internet. Again, like I said before, at the end of the day, autistic people are human, and human beings often behave and think in a very stupid, delusional way. Delusional. How can you not say she's being idiotic? If you want to preach confidence when you're fat, if you want to encourage fat women to wear clothes that they're self-conscious about, if you want to encourage fat women to hold their head high, go out there and take on the world, this is not the way to do it. This just makes you look like a total idiot. That's why you get all that negative feedback. Wake up. You're bringing women down by displaying your bodies and painting yourselves as nothing more than a body, as only a body. Where are the brains? Where's the intellectual component? It's completely absent in these kinds of videos. It's just really sad that autistic women are jumping on this fat acceptance bandwagon. We're not supposed to be jumping on bandwagons. And you know who started this fat acceptance bandwagon? Neurotypicals, because neurotypicals or non-autistic people make up the huge, vast majority of the population, and we have these autistic women falling prey to this, submitting to this, not thinking for themselves, not being logical, being very illogical, letting their emotions rule, letting their feelings rule, instead of looking at the logic and analyzing the situation using common sense and going by the signs and the facts. So, in summary, it's extremely unfortunate that more and more fat acceptance cult members are on the autism spectrum. Well, that's my video for today. Have a wonderful day.